Virtual machines. A virtual machine, or VM, is a software-based emulation of a physical computer. It allows you to run an operating system and applications in an isolated environment on your host machine. This is perfect for testing, development, or learning new systems like Windows Server 2016, which is what we will be doing today. Let's get our hypervisor. Head over to virtualbox.org and select the download button on the top navigation bar. Select the respective version for your operating system, whether that be Windows, Linux, or Mac. I'm using a Windows machine, so I'll select the Windows host. I have already downloaded it, so I won't again. Run the setup once finished and go through the installation. The default settings are usually good, so just keep clicking next, and until you see the install button, then let it do its thing. Voila, that's VirtualBox installed. Next on the checklist is to get the actual ISO file for Windows Server. Head back to your preferred browser and navigate to microsoft.com/evalcenter. I don't ever suggest acquiring OS files from unvetted or third-party website. It can be extremely dangerous, so be careful. Once here, click the Windows Server option in the nav bar, hover over it again, and then select Windows Server 2016. On this page, you'll see the download the ISO link we're looking for. Hit it and it should take you to the free trial landing page. Here you're going to answer a few personal questions, and then you'll be good to click the Download Now button. Finally, select the 64-bit hyperlink and your download should start. With all the prerequisites met, we can get into the good stuff now. Head back over to VirtualBox. What I'm doing now is creating a new virtual machine instance that we are going to load Windows Server onto. Give it a name. For type, leave it as Windows, and for version, change it to other Windows 64-bit. Under hardware, give it about 2 gigs, and under hard disk, about 80 gigs of storage. Also, make sure to change it to VHD so it reads as an actual hard disk and not an image file. Hit Finish, and we're almost ready to boot. Click the Settings icon and navigate to Storage. We are going to load the Windows Server 2016 ISO file as an inserted CD we can boot from. Choose a disk file and find your downloaded ISO file. Now let's configure the virtual network. Head to Two Tools, then over to NAT Networks. A NAT network, or Network Address Translation Network, is a system that allows multiple devices on a local network to share a single public IP address operating over the IPv4 protocol. Right-click the empty space and hit Create. Give it a name, and I'm going to set my IPv4 prefix to 192.168.0.0/24. Feel free to play around with this using your knowledge of classful and classless addressing, then hit Apply. Head back to your VM and into Settings one final time, this time to Network. Switch the Attached To from NAT to NAT Network. It should auto-select the VIA NAT we just created, given it's the only NAT network configured. Hit OK and we're ready to boot. Follow me and do this just like you do a normal Windows setup. Here you'll see a few options as it relates to version. You'll notice the standard and data center and also the plain or desktop experience options. With the standard version, you may only have 2 operating system environments, while on the data center, you are allowed unlimited. Basically, how many instances you are allowed per license. And as can interpreted, the desktop environment is the version that provides us with an interactive GUI we can click around on, as opposed to the plain, which is strictly command line. We call it server core. Anyways, we're going to go with data center just because. Moving on, accept the terms, confirm the storage, and let it install. Now we have to set the admin password. The requirements are the usual, 8-character minimum, uppercase and lowercase and inclusive of numbers. Just like that Windows server is up and running. Be patient with it. First startups always take a little while. Moving on to the final thing on checklist, basic configs and personalization. I'm going to start by mounting and installing VirtualBox Guest Editions. This is going to allow me to resize my screen automatically so it's easier to work with. We'll go through the installation while server finishes booting up. Make sure to click Reboot later. Now Server Manager should be up and running now. Head to Local Server, and this is where we will be setting our static IP and changing our computer name. Beside Ethernet, click where it says IPv4 address assigned by DHCP. It also shows that IPv6 is enabled. Let's change that. Now right-click Ethernet, Properties, uncheck the box besides IPv6, and then click IPv4 and hit Properties. Follow my lead here now. Change it to use the following IP address. Keeping with the same IP class, I'll be giving this device the address 192.168.0.10. The default subnet mask is all right, and the default gateway will be 192.168.0.1. For DNS, 127.0.0.1 and 8.8.8.8, just so it's able to resolve hostname through Google's DNS server. And we'll close and close again. The final thing we will be doing is changing the name of the system. Beside computer name, you'll see a random name windows generated for it already. Just click it, then click Change and give it a name. Hit OK and that's it. Now restart to apply all the changes. Now notice my screen automatically scales and adjusts, makes seeing and using the VM that much easier. Looking at Server Manager, everything seems to be in order and properly updated. Just to check once more, let's open Command Prompt and do it the IT way. You'll be using this a lot getting deeper in the field, so it makes sense to pin it to the taskbar. We can check our IP using ipconfig and yes, it's just as we set it to be. Now let's ping Google to see if we are actually connected to the internet. Booyah! Pinging successful. This lab was a total success. Thanks for participating and/or watching.